Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pop Goes the Culture podcast for the weekend of Friday, January 10th. I am just one of your hosts, Zach Wilson, alongside the man, the myth, the legend himself, the host with the most, Mr. Joey Mills.
That's
Joey, how
right.
we doing today?
Honestly,
kind
or
of a hot button
do you
question.
want the podcast friendly version? Yeah, it's great, man.
Oh,
Everything's
yeah,
wonderful.
everything's going great. Nothing's going wrong in the world.
Yeah, yeah. It's. I'm sure we'll get to it, but yeah, there's a lot going on in the world that doesn't seem like it would have any impact on us here in the podcast studio in Southwest Missouri, in the
But,
middle of
ladies and
nowhere.
gentlemen, you'd be surprised.
You'd be surprised how much things are connected in this world. So yeah, we're here. We're doing this.
10 days in 2025, we couldn't keep it together.
Not at all.
Well, despite all of the crazy stuff that's going on with the world, guys, we would like to thank you all for joining us, whether it's on YouTube or the podcast player of your choice.
YouTube.
Yeah,
Waving at
YouTube.
you.
Yes, hello, everybody. What have you been up to, Joey? I know there's some unprecedented things that happened in the last 24 to 48 hours.
So convention prep, both of us, both you and I have been prepping for conventions
Oh,
this weekend, separate conventions that we are both going to be at. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Didn't exactly go according
Yours
to
has
plan.
been canned already,
Just
right?
completely canned.
Yeah.
Which, as much of a bummer, and we'll get to this here eventually, as much of a bummer, totally understand, and it is for the best.
Absolutely. Mine is still a go. I have no doubt that even with the amount of winter weather that's predicted to happen tonight and tomorrow morning, that I personally, I trust that I can get to the airport to fly out to my convention. I don't trust that there will be an airplane or multiple planes, since I'm connecting, that will get me to my destination before I'm supposed to be on a stage.
Well, yeah, because
on
like
Saturday.
once you park in that airport, it's no longer in your hands.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Once you get there, even if things are delayed, it's like it may be a situation where like, yeah, it's delayed, it's delayed. Hey, we're going. Cool. Let's get to the next city. You get there and it's things are canceled. We're delayed. And it's like, well, then what? You're just
Exactly.
stuck. So but beyond that, because that's all out of our control, I've been watching a couple shows, staying up with DC's Creature Commandos, the animated series from
Oh,
James Gunn over on Max. Have you watched it at all?
started. It's so good.
Isn't
I'm
it
only like
awesome?
2 episodes in, so
Okay,
no spoilers.
no spoilers then. Also, there's a documentary series over on Shudder, the horror streaming platform, called Horror's Greatest. What they do, they're about 45 minutes to an hour long episodes. They get just a bunch of people that have credentials, that a reason to be there from horror, actors, filmmakers, directors, writers, all that stuff. And they just pick a topic, and so
Very cool.
and then they just talk about the best horror movies for that topic. So like one of them was giant monster movies. So it's not just Godzilla. They go into different stuff. One of them was
a bunch of different kaiju.
I think this week's was like Bad Dates. So it was like horror movies where the relationship, the date goes really wrong, and there's your horror movie. Is that?
Oh, interesting.
So those are fun to watch because every once in a while it'll remind you of a movie that you're like, oh, I haven't seen that forever. That was good, or it'll be, hey, check it out. That's something I definitely should look
and this
into.
is exclusively on Shudder.
Exclusively on Shudder. This is the second season of it. I think the first season had like 5 episodes. I think this will probably have 5 episodes. But
God, we have to reach out to the good folks over at Shudder. We
They-
talk about
they
Shudder
have a
so
ton
much. I feel like there's got to be a sponsorship there.
their documentary stuff in particular is really good. It's really good stuff. So if you have access to Shudder, be checking that out. And then on the Xbox Game Pass, I've been playing a little bit of the new Indiana Jones game. That if you have Xbox Game Pass, you can play for free.
Which is insane to me.
Yeah,
that
a
game
triple
just
A
came out.
title. Yes, a big title with a big property. You would think they need to make all the money, but they're
Big
just giving it
actors
away.
attached
Yeah,
to it.
yeah. So yeah, it's an Indiana Jones game that you play as Indiana Jones. It's set between Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade, so it's kind of like that Indiana Jones in his prime. Troy Baker voices Indiana Jones, and dude, if you didn't know it wasn't Harrison Ford,
Close your
you
eyes.
you would
just
you would
imagine.
know. Yeah,
Wow.
he knocks it out of the park. It's the kind of storytelling that those first, yeah, well, especially the first and the third. So Raiders and Last Crusade, it's classic Indiana Jones storytelling where a lot of the story gets, yes, there's tons of action. It's kind of a stealther type
Okay,
game,
I was gonna
like an
ask if
Assassin's Creed,
okay.
Metal Gear kind of thing.
I was gonna ask if it was more akin to like Uncharted
No,
and like Assassin's
you would think
Creed.
so, but no,
Yeah,
it's
okay,
more
interesting.
it's more stealth based. You're trying to not get caught, not get
I
outed.
guess that makes sense.
Yeah. But a lot of the storytelling, there's the exposition cutscenes and stuff. But there's so many little things, because like with when Spielberg's making the Indiana Jones movies or even like Jaws, so much of the real heart of the storytelling takes place in those little quiet moments that happen. Like in Jaws when Chief Brody's like playing with his son at the dinner table. That's like you see more of their characters there than you do when they're on a boat fighting a shark. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Or like with Indiana Jones, little things that are just as important or more important sometimes than some of the bigger stuff. And this is kind of the same way. Those little there's I'm not super far in, and there's probably somebody listening who is beyond where I'm at.
I'm sure.
But there's they keep going back to this phonograph record. Like they'll be having like a cut scene and they'll be talking, and then the camera will slightly just kind of pan over to this phonograph player with a record playing on it, and then it'll kind of slightly go back, and you're
Okay.
like, what's up with that?
That sounds
What's
interesting.
going on with the phonograph player? So at some point, I feel like that's got to pay. It's called Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. The Great Circle, I'm sure, alludes to something else that's going on, but it's not for nothing that here's a record going around in a circle. So there's got to be more stuff going on. I just haven't gotten far enough. Haven't had the time with all the con prep stuff, but yeah,
The
it's
ultimate
been a lot of
treasure is
fun.
just gonna end up in like a record store or something.
Or the record itself, or maybe I don't know. We're gonna find out.
The ultimate treasure is the friends we met along the way.
I don't think it is. He doesn't make a whole lot of friends along the way. Yeah, you have the old friends. You have like his buddy Marcus Brody at the at the school and the museums, but and you have his other friends that he's made kind of along the way. But
Sure.
you're not making new ones, that's for sure. So I don't think that's the Great Circle. The Great Circle is not the circle of friends that we make on the journey. I'm pretty certain of that.
Yeah.
How about you? What have you been up to?
Well, so yeah, prepping for a con as well, and again we'll address this later.
Yeah.
Didn't end up panning out, which is okay for a couple reasons, of course, because it's the best, most safest for everybody. But also, I mean, the individuals that I was personally going to be interviewing, I mean, we meet up with these people all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Other conventions, other shows.
Yeah.
All of that work is not going to go to waste.
No.
So in its absence, I've actually been watching a lot of. This has kind of been my attention with 2025 is watching more kind of classic or your quote unquote essential films that I always should have watched but never gotten around to.
Like what? Give me an example.
So think Shawshank Redemption.
You had never seen
I have
Shawshank?
not
Wow.
until a week ago. I've never watched Shawshank Redemption.
Huh.
Shawshank, Green Mile, Goodfellas.
Wow.
I don't know if this is anybody's quintessential movie series, but Child's Play, the Chucky series.
The first one's really good.
The first one was good. The second one not bad. They kind of go downhill after
when he goes to the
ones.
military academy. Yeah, from there on, it's
From there
just
on,
trash.
yeah. They are not all better than the sum of their parts.
No.
And just quite a few other ones, and it's been kind of a ride. They vary in quality and vary in a degree of like how I feel bad about not seeing them until then. So like Goodfellas and definitely Shawshank Redemption. I'm like, why did I sleep on these for so long?
How did you avoid Shawshank is what I want to know, because it's one of those movies that it's playing somewhere on some network at any given time.
It's just one of those movies I never really saw it for what it was. Like it's a prison movie. Okay, there was a Sylvester Stallone movie about a prison as well. Why would I watch that one over that one?
Yeah.
But so it wasn't until
not the same movie.
Not exactly, not at all the same movie. Yeah. Both have prison escapes, to be fair.
Yeah.
But not at all the same movie. But while subjectively my favorite film is still Spirited Away, objectively Shawshank Redemption might be the greatest film ever being created.
In terms of just making a movie, a cinematic, making the moving parts match, yeah, I agree. It's
the pacing.
It's just about the best movie ever made. Yeah.
Like the writing, it's incredible.
Based on a short story by Stephen King.
That's what Molly was telling me too, and I thought was incredible. Like a short story ended up being this like 2.5-hour movie.
That's epic, yeah.
Again, probably one of the greatest films ever been created.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just kind of joining in that journey. I've had folks been telling me what to watch that are their quote unquote quintessential films, which perfect plug. If you have a quintessential film that you'd like me to watch, put it in the comments.
Absolutely. So what do you have coming up next that you're excited about? Like, is there something that somebody suggested to you that you're like, ooh, I kind of can't wait to get to that one?
So yes, and this might be a collective groan from the audience, but The Godfather.
Okay.
I've never seen The Godfather, and I've had so many people say Godfather 1 and 2 are must-watches.
Okay.
Then, as far as horror goes on, I've been churning through the Scream films, trying to find on streaming the original Friday the 13th.
Yeah, good luck.
I've never seen it. I saw the quote-unquote reboot or remake.
The one from like 2009?
2008, 2009, yeah. And
There's only one reason to watch that movie, and it's for the nipple placement.
And the
Which, if
nipple
you've
there,
seen it, you know exactly
I was
what we're
about to
talking about.
say, yeah, quite jarring, quite jarring. And so just a little bit here, a little bit there. The only other horror film that I thought was interesting that people were telling me to watch, there were two of them: Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Which one?
I did not know that there was more than one.
Yeah, there've been a ton of them.
There's a ton of them. Okay, I would assume the original then.
Probably not. You're probably
Really?
the one that's probably the most well known is the one from like the 70s with Donald Sutherland and
Okay, I'll have to remember that.
Leonard Nimoy's in it.
Oh, Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah,
Hey.
of the many that have been made, that's probably the one that
Okay.
people go to the most.
Okay. And then the other one, which I'd never really heard about, Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
Is that so? That is.
It's kind of a.
Are we talking like cheesy camp?
I'm trying to remember the dates. It's either late 80s or early 90s, but yeah, it's one of those B movies that knows it's a B movie and kind of embraces the fact. But
well,
I mean, it takes itself seriously. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just like, wow, they had to have known when they were making this. Like, this is not gonna win any Oscars.
Sure. Well, I mean, my absolute favorite horror film is Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Right, and not
So,
an Oscar winner as well.
Exactly. So I might actually like that one.
Yeah.
So so it's a journey. Outside of that, just been playing some video games, catching up on some things. I will say, and you kind of perfect segue with the Indiana Jones, the fact that it's already on Game Pass, is that, don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a die-hard PlayStation fan through and through.
Right. During
the console wars of PS3 through Xbox 360, you better believe I was deep in those trenches for PS3. But as I've gotten older, I've seen kind of, Xbox has a lot to offer. And it's gotten to the point where I'm not necessarily disenchanted by PlayStation Plus. I mean, there is a lot to offer on that. But I will say, objectively, it is getting harder and harder to defend PlayStation Plus comparatively to Game Pass when I keep hearing that all of these day one titles, these
big titles,
AAA masterpieces in some cases, are there day one on Game Pass, whereas PlayStation Plus, I mean, I'm getting flooded by all these PS2 classics.
Yeah, would you like to play a little bit of Little Big Planet?
Yeah,
here's a Sackboy for you.
You know this obscure game that was a launch title for PS3? Yeah, we're just now finally adding it to PS Plus.
Yeah, have fun with that. Nobody played it then. Nobody's playing it now.
So it's been one of those things where as you grow and evolve your taste, you are better understand that previous diehard opinions you had, there might be some room to grow with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was never a big Xbox person until, I want to say, not this generation. The one previous was the Xbox One. Maybe, I don't. They all run together after a while, and especially Xboxes because they're not in numerical order. But yeah, that was kind of my real. I mean, I played on the old stuff, but that was kind of my first really I'm gonna see and then finding the Game Pass, and it's changed over the years what is and isn't Game Pass, what's on and what isn't on Game Pass. But yeah, it's been good. I'm currently Microsoft's buying a lot of game development studios, so you see a lot more freebies, I guess, or you're paying for them. A lot more titles are hitting Game Pass than PlayStation Plus that are worth actually spending time playing, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's what we've been up to, ladies and gentlemen. Before we move on, let us know what you've been up to as well on all of our social media platforms. We've got
all.
We've got Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Mastodon. Don't even know what that one is. And
it's a giant furry elephant-like creature. No.
Yeah. And we just post all of our posts on its back.
Everybody just takes a stapler and staples their post-it notes to the elephant. Hairy elephant man.
Yeah, at first it was pretty upset about it, but it's kind of cooled off.
I think at one point you just get overwhelmed and the mastodon quit fighting.
This is my life now.
Exactly.
Let us know by adding us at BGTC podcast.
Not B.
That's a B. PGTC podcast. Bach goes the PGTC podcast. We'd love to hear what you guys have been watching, reading, playing, listening to, and doing, and get your recommendations, especially if they're
Zach's movies. That's right.
Kind of go in the same vein with video games. Our first topic is...
I moved it on you.
Circulate. Yeah, you moved it on me. Oh, perfect.
I'm a formatting kind of guy. I'm like, doesn't format correctly. Anyway, do it in the order you want, man. You're in the driver's seat.
Circulating the rumors online have been rumors that certain classic PlayStation games will be receiving sequels in 2025.
Yes.
While nothing is concrete, and you can take this with a little bit of salt, because on all of the news stories that you see, it says a quote-unquote insider speculates, which I feel like that could be anybody. However, this poses a very interesting question that we can ponder. as to what video games, if this is indeed real, are we talking about? Are
Mhm.
we talking Sly Cooper, Jack and Daxter? You'll notice the inflection of my voice, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo!
I'm a huge Jack and Daxter fan.
Yeah.
Or is it ones akin to maybe Ape Escape?
From what I have seen and heard as well recently, it sounds like they're working on a lot of remasters.
Mm.
So I wonder if maybe the insider is conflating remasters and sequels a little bit.
Being a little loose with them.
Yeah, but also at the same time, I've heard that they're working on like some Metal Gear, which was a PlayStation exclusive. We know there's at least another, I think only one more planned chapter for the Final Fantasy VII stuff, which you know is not exclusive to PlayStation, but starts there.
It started there, certainly.
So yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see exactly what that looks like. Um, I mean, PlayStation exclusive titles really, if you're looking back at like PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, weren't super thrilling. It's more of like, the modern version of some of those properties, like when they rebooted God of War into what it is now. Absolutely, they should do a third one of those. Or, I'm sure they're going to be a Spider-Man 3. For a while, they were talking about making a spin-off, a Venom game based on that same universe.
That'd be cool.
So yeah, those kind of make sense to me because they're currently in people's minds. Um, and this is a weird, and it totally doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about, but it's kind of, it just pops into my head. So totally not for nothing. I have no reason for you or anybody else to expect to hear this. But last Monday night, WWE, the big wrestling company, moved from cable to Netflix. So now you can watch live on Netflix.
That's right, I saw
that. Big deal. So the 3-hour show, they only had 4 matches. That means there's a whole lot of talking. So they're bringing back a lot of legends or whatever, people that people know. They grew this industry. Even people who aren't wrestling fans, like they had the Undertaker back. Everybody knows who the Undertaker is, right? But they had Hulk Hogan there, and he got booed out of the building.
Yeah, that's a bold choice.
And people are like, oh, they're booing him because why? Number one, you saw 2 things. The first reaction was, why are they booing him? Don't they understand that they wouldn't have any of this without the foundation that was being laid back in the 70s and 80s? But nobody in the crowd was, not nobody. Most of the people in the crowd are young enough to neither know nor care about what happened in the 70s and 80s. And I feel, bringing it back to the topic, that when you're talking about some of those PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 exclusive titles that haven't had a sequel or a reboot, or that IP is just languished for decades in some cases, how many people are going to get excited for those? I don't know.
Well, and that's the thing. It's interesting to imagine, like, if this is an actual reality, what that's going to look like. I mean, like Ape Escape. I mean, you can't really make a gritty reboot with Ape Escape.
Well, you could, but it would be
go in an entirely complete
exactly.
direction.
It'd be a first-person shooter. You'd be hunting an ape.
But like with Sly Cooper and Jack and Daxter, would we get just your typical like
a platformer,
third-person platformer, or are we going to get something more akin to God of War, where it's not necessarily too far away from the original source material? I mean, God of War still in its essence a puzzle or hack and slash.
Yeah.
But with a lot more depth and like focus on character development of Kratos.
Yeah.
Would we get the same thing with Jack and Daxter, having a little bit more of a focus,
a little backstory on Jack?
That Jack still has that trauma, but has grown from it and has become a little bit more of a well-rounded, more patient man. And then with Sly Cooper, is he still the the happy-go-lucky?
Is he still stealing stuff?
Yeah, cocky
Is
trickster.
he still swiper, no swiping
exactly,
things?
Thief. Or with all of his just myriad of adventures, has he become a little bit more of a mentor to maybe somebody who's just more of an up-and-comer? So it's an interesting thing to ponder. I am still, though, skeptical if it's going to happen.
Right.
And why? Because of why of all years 2025.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like even like we were talking about with the Indiana Jones game, even the Uncharted series has not had an entry for so long. I feel like it's fallen off the radar for a lot of people. And if they came out today and said Uncharted 5, I guess, I mean, they had that weird in between 4 after 4 with the ladies, but so if they say, hey, a reboot, we're just going to call this one Uncharted, and it's not going to have a colon and a tagline, it's just going to be called Uncharted, I don't know that you would get a whole lot of people excited, because again, it's been a decade or more since we've had an entry. And how many people who are currently gamers, because gaming it's a young man's thing, right? The people who put the most hours in are people who have nothing else to do. which is funny. I saw Elon Musk is like the best Diablo 4 player
Yeah,
in the world. It's like I thought you were running or five, six companies and
exactly.
trying
Yeah,
to run this country, but you got time to
yeah.
play Diablo.
A
Yeah,
game that's like on a steep
yeah,
decline.
exactly. I was like, okay, you say so, buddy.
There's something with that because, like, again, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. If another Uncharted game was announced, I
Yeah,
mean, I'm not wearing this necklace for nothing.
right.
I
Yeah, yeah.
love Uncharted.
Some
I
of us
would
would get
purchase it.
excited. Yeah.
However, there is a part of me that wouldn't have been as excited for an Uncharted 5 as I was maybe 4, even 5 years ago.
If you tell me I'm putting out an Uncharted 5 and it's going to have the regular retail price of like $60, a lot of people are going to be like, that thing needs to have then at
Yeah.
least 40 to 60 hours of gameplay
Oh, easy.
content.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'd be like, I can see that. I get the idea of value,
Mhm.
but dude, if it's more than like 10 or 15 hours, you're not going to keep me through the end of the game because there's too much other stuff to do and there's too many other games to play.
Oh, sure.
Like I need that. You're going to have to hook me right away, which they're good at doing.
Oh, yeah. But to be fair.
But you're going to have to maintain that hook with a lot of distractions now that weren't there when we were playing, what Honor Among Thieves or whatever, a Thieves End or Uncharted 2, whatever it was
Yeah.
called. So I don't know. It's the yes, you need length and depth to your games, but at the same time, the people that grew up, cutting their teeth on arcade games, original, old consoles like even the Atari, or the old Nintendo or Sega or whatever. Like we got other shit to
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Like that's cool and all, but I got an hour and a half before I got to go put the kids to bed, or I got to make
Mhm.
dinner, or I got to go to work, or whatever. So
That's the thing. Growing up,
it's got to be little bites
we're
at
always
the
trying to
apple.
speed run our way to becoming adults, and then now that we are, man,
Like,
we have all these responsibilities, no time to enjoy
no
the
plot.
freedom.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of revitalizing classics,
Mm.
at the box office last
Oh
weekend,
yes.
Mufasa the Lion King and Sonic the Hedgehog 3. So one sequel, one prequel.
Yep.
Not necessarily in that order.
No.
Swapped places from the previous weekend to finish number one and number two, respectively. With last weekend's haul, the three Sonic films have collectively, and this is very cool, grossed more than $1 billion at the box
That
office.
is with a B.
Yeah, it is
billion
with a B.
dollars
Yeah, nailed that one.
across those three films.
Nosferatu held onto third place, while Moana 2 and Wicked switched spots to round out the top five. That's a pretty solid top five.
It is. I'm surprised that. I mean, I'm not surprised because I've seen what has been coming out and what's scheduled to come out. So yeah, that top five's probably not going to move too much.
Sure.
But at the same time, now that you can get Wicked at home on
Oh, that's
digital,
right.
it's kind of
That's right.
it's surprising to see it still in the top five. We'll see if it continues to stay there after this weekend. I'm guessing it will, only because there's nothing coming out this weekend.
Sure.
But we'll see what happens.
The interesting about Mufasa now taking the number one spot, because I feel like I've heard a lot of people say that film is just not that great.
Yeah, well, yeah, I agree. It probably isn't that great. But if you take a look, what always wins, number one, big tentpole action movies like a Marvel film or something like that. We don't have any of those right now. So what is in the top spot? What is, three? I mean, three, you probably not Wicked, but definitely three of the top five are family films.
Mhm.
That's what's
Two being Disney.
that's what's making the money right now. So that's not maybe a surprise that Mufasa's making money regardless of the quality, just because the Disney marketing machine, they're going to pump it out. You're going to have to take the kids to see it because whatever, they got it on the Disney Channel, or I'm sure they're running trailers all the time. So yeah, seeing Disney, Sonic, Moana 2, and like I said, you could argue Wicked. It's not a children's film, but there are a lot of families going to see it. Nosferatu is, there's your random horror.
Around to being able to see it yet.
Not yet. I'll probably have to wait till it's on streaming, just because things are picking up with the convention and stuff too. And but no, I definitely will watch it once I'm able to do so on the equipment I already own, in the comfort of my own home, eating my own snacks, drinking my own drinks.
I will say, if you are getting anxious to watch it on Max, they have something called Nosferatu in color. So it is the original silent film, but I don't know if they've digitally edited or how they're doing it. I was about to say, I'm not too far into it yet because I just realized it. But it is Nosferatu, the original silent film, in color.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, as a person who actually did love the original and watched it a few times, to see it in color, I don't know if I like it.
No.
It's a little too jarring.
I agree. Anytime you colorize a classic black and white film, it doesn't seem like it holds up as well. I mean, I don't need to know I mean, yes, we collectively as a society know that Frankenstein's skin is green. I don't need to see that on the screen. I need to see the black and white. The reason
Exactly.
it was green is so it would show up well in black and white. So I don't need to see it in green. I need
Hon-
to see it in black and white.
Honestly, when I started watching it, it was very much akin to when I was a kid. I would always go to Chuck E. Cheese for my
Mhm.
birthdays. So like maybe 8 or 9, or nah, that's a little old, maybe like 6 or 7. We would. I remember
15 or
on
7.
yeah 15 or 18. I remember driving away with my parents, and like in the back, I saw a headless Chucky,
Hmm.
which is obviously just revealing the man in the suit
Right.
smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I
The
know that is
magic is
such
gone.
exactly that is such a visceral moment of my childhood, and this very much feels the same way.
Yeah. No, leave leave the classics alone. And
Yeah.
that goes for like if you have a really good take and want to reboot something, go for it, man. It's got to be good though, because the bar's already been set. We love that classic. If you're just slapping some Technicolor over a black and white film, yeah,
Not so
eh,
much. Not so much.
not so much.
The Golden Globes were held last weekend.
Yes.
On the film side, The
Hmm.
Brutalist and Amelia Perez took home the most gold. Did you see either of those?
No,
Yeah, I have
and
no
those
idea.
those probably I probably won't even watch
I bet
them
they
when they're streaming.
feel like those films were probably not made for us.
If it's somebody's name, I'm probably not gonna watch the film.
As did the individual winners Fernanda Torres, Adrian Brody, Demi
Mhm.
Moore, which this was mind blowing. Her first ever acting award.
Yeah, I can see that. She hasn't been in a lot of films that would be
Yes.
considered, awards material.
Yeah, she's just such a household name. I just would
Yeah,
have assumed.
she didn't get an award for no nominations for striptease, nothing for the Charlie's Angels
All
five
right,
or
well, when
seven
you
or
put it like
whatever.
that, Sebastian Stan, Zoe de Saldana,
Yeah.
and Kieran Culkin. Excuse me.
Yes.
On the TV side of it, the
Yeah.
night belonged to Hulu's Shogun.
Won all the awards.
Won all the awards.
Wins all the awards every time.
If I
Emmy
needed any
awards,
more reason
Golden
to watch
Globes,
the
yeah.
show, dang it.
And I still haven't either.
HBO's Hacks and Netflix's Baby Reindeer,
Mhm.
Jeremy Allen White, Jodie Foster, and of course Colin Farrell all also took home individual awards on the TV side.
Colin Farrell's speech was great. Like, yep, it's all me. I am the most outstanding performer. I did it all myself as a joke, because clearly
Okay, as
the
a
guy,
joke,
yeah,
everybody else was
he
like,
spent.
no,
I think it
don't
was
break my heart like
no,
this,
it
Joey
was like
Mills.
I think he spent. I think he said it was like 3 or 4 hours every day in makeup and prosthetics, and then another 3 to 4 hours at the end of every day of shooting to take all that off. So yeah, he was clearly just being
facetious.
yeah, just having a good time. I'm sure it's the Golden Globes, so alcohol was flowing.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's
Oh,
having a
yeah.
good time. It's not the Oscars. So, but yeah, it's fun to hear him. Obviously,
Yeah.
and he did. He thanks everybody involved in the
Kind of
production.
humanizes them a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because he's early on in his career. It's like he kind of seems like a dick.
Really?
Like early on, talking like the old times. But as he's gotten older and taken on roles that are more mature, or like this, where like he just completely disappears. It could be anybody
Oh, yeah.
under the penguin prosthetics.
I remember when hearing that was Colin Farrell. I was like, no way.
Yeah, it seems
True
like
Detective season 2? No way.
yeah, it seems like he's kind of mellowing out a little
Yeah.
bit. He's not the dick that maybe I mistook him to be, or maybe he was and has changed. I don't know, but
Not a young man anymore.
that's right. He seems like a pretty decent guy.
Well, President Biden gave out his final batch of Medal of Freedoms,
Yes.
the highest civilian honor that the U.S. actually bestows, presented to individuals who have made exemplary contributions to the prosperity, values, or security of the United States, world peace, or other significant societal, public, or private endeavors.
That feels to me like a blanket statement saying
Yeah, I
anybody
feel-
can win this award.
I was about to say, I feel like, you and I have contributed to
We
at
have.
least, I don't know necessarily world peace, but I'd like to think we have a
We have-
somewhat semi-great impact on the society.
Yeah, I mean, public or private endeavors. I mean, what is that?
Yeah.
Public endeavors, we know what that is. We know what private is. Is there anything else? It seems like it's open to everybody.
It kind of sounds like our key contribution to not being part of this is we're just not quite famous enough.
Apparently, or haven't paid for it or something. I
Well,
don't know.
because looking at the list,
Yes.
we've got, ladies and gentlemen, Denzel Washington,
Uh-huh.
who I guess he was selected in 2022,
Yeah, I
but
think he had
missed the ceremony
COVID.
because of COVID.
Yeah.
Michael J. Fox, Bill Nye the Science Guy, U2's Bono, primate scientist Jane Goodall, Magic Johnson, designer Ralph Lauren, soccer star Lionel Messi, and others.
Yeah, just a random smattering of people who happen to be famous for something.
Congrats to them all.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we are akin to Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Well, Some
but
of us are.
I mean, but just saying, one day maybe you and I,
Yeah.
Joey, we'll be on that stage.
What would we have to do to get a medal of whatever medal
I
of
don't know. I
freedom is
mean,
it called?
according to this, like Denzel Washington, maybe star in The Equalizer.
Yeah. Or yeah, something. I don't know. Be interesting to find out from a previous or a medal holder, if that makes the
Yeah,
right word, uh, what you have to do to get one of those. Because yeah, maybe we might hold off for a few years, but maybe
sure.
at some point down the road we should get
Well, because
invited to
like
the White
looking at
House.
some of them, and like I could be entirely out of pocket, ladies and gentlemen, and incorrect. But like the primate scientists, like I'm sure that has significant value to
Bill
societal and
Nye,
our
science, making
absolutely
science palatable for people to understand it in small
people
chunks.
of all ages. Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
why are you giving a foreign soccer star
Yeah, and that's
a
when you
medal
kind of
of
start to
freedom?
lose. Like unless they like contribute like a lot of their annual income to charities, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's the only way I can think of
I
it.
don't know.
But
Or Magic
who
John.
knows?
Love Magic Johnson. Definitely brought
Yeah,
attention to the HIV/AIDS deal. But
that's a good point.
dude, a medal of freedom for that?
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, to take it down a little bit,
Yes.
guys, we would be remiss if we didn't at least talk about mention about the fires going out in Los Angeles.
Yep.
Our hearts go out to all of the individuals that have been impacted by these very unfortunate start of 2025. We see it all over the news. We are both fortunate and unfortunate to be close with a lot of
Few of the folks that are
celebrities and where we work that we actually know a lot of them that have been affected by these that overnight it seems
yeah.
they found themselves homeless.
Yeah, there are people that we have worked with multiple times in some cases that have no home right now. They grabbed their significant others, any children that they had, any pets they might have had, and fled. And there are videos on social media of people that were among the last people to fly into LAX, of like, hey, look out the window, Los Angeles is burning,
On fire.
or there was a story, and regardless of what you think of anybody, you don't want this to happen to anyone, but there's a story of like Paris Hilton and her family got out of LA, went somewhere safe, which I mean any Hilton hotel in the world would probably allow them to
Yeah.
stay for whatever, they own it, but the family was turning on the news at wherever they were that they were safe from the fires, and somebody just to see what's going on back home, and like they were watching on live television their house burn to the ground while they were safely somewhere else, thankfully. But God, to watch your house burning
I can't
on the
imagine.
news, like that's us. A lot of a lot of the iconic locations in and around LA, Hollywood. There's a high school that they use for anything that takes place in a high school gets filmed at this one particular building, this one high school. Apparently, it's gone now. They're talking about the Hollywood Bowl where they have the big outdoor amphitheater. They have a lot of stuff there that's in danger. They're talking about even like the Walk of Fame. Like there's a
Wow.
chance that some of that stuff's gonna just go away. So it's for somebody who we don't have a direct, we don't live in LA. Have you been? I've not been to LA.
So I'm a San Diego.
Right.
So I'm California native.
Right.
San Diego represent. And unfortunately, it is a tangible possibility when you live in California that you could find
Yeah.
yourself in the wildfires. I mean, I remember growing up, the one instance that I ever had anything remotely close to snow is during the
His
California
ash. Yeah.
wildfires. Yeah, it was so close to our house that we had to evacuate. When we came back, thank goodness, our house was not affected. However, so much ash was on our back porch
Yeah.
that it looked like it had snowed.
Yeah. Well, again, so not living in LA, not having really been there, but knowing of these iconic locations and stuff, it's weird to know that those things are gone now, and even weirder. I mean, like I said, we work with a lot of people who do have homes there that we're finding out, hey, I'm homeless
Yeah.
now. Doing the convention stuff, it takes a back seat. Like, oh man, that's too bad that so and so had to cancel being at this convention. It happens every convention, no matter who's in charge. Somebody has to cancel because they got a job. It's
Yeah.
good news. Somebody got sick. That's bad news.
They're
But
humans too.
yeah, but there are people now who like, well, I'm gonna have to cancel some things because I have to deal with FEMA and insurance now because I'm
Yeah.
homeless.
Because I don't have a home.
Yeah, so it could, it doesn't matter how rich and famous and powerful you may or may not be. Fire doesn't care.
End of the day, I was gonna say, end
Snow
of the day,
doesn't
you are
care.
still
Water
human.
doesn't care. Yeah, so it's kind of heartbreaking to see some of the folks that we do know and interact with on a regular basis now. Like I don't know what I'm gonna do. I guess I'll figure it out as I go. So it can be hard to find sympathy for people who are rich and famous sometimes, but regardless of who they are. You don't want to see anybody lose everything.
Oh,
Think
sure.
about if you had to evacuate right now from your apartment, what, how much of life, photos, whatever, just gets left behind, and now it's gone.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah,
There's no
you might
replacing it.
you might be the biggest celebrity in the world, but now all your photos, all your things that you kept from your childhood, all your mementos, anything that was important enough to you to be in your home is now gone. That's insane. I wouldn't want to have to deal with
No,
that.
yeah, and it's one of those things that kind of puts into perspective, like how precious not just the people around you are, but like to be a little bit more grateful about the circumstances you find yourself in, where you might not have the 4 or 5 bedroom houses or the mansions that some of our
Right.
celebrity counterparts might. The fact that you still have a home at the end of the day compared to they might not.
Yeah.
It's
Some of
something.
them
It
don't
makes
now.
you
It's not
think.
even a might at
Yeah,
this point.
exactly.
Some of them don't.
It
So,
makes you think. It makes you think.
yeah.
So our deepest condolences to everybody who has been affected, both
Yeah.
celebrity and not celebrity, who've been affected by these fires. We hope you find the relief that you need to.
Yep.
For the folks that are fans of conventions or fans of these celebrities, please reach out to them.
And extend a little grace. Your favorite celebrity may not make it to your nearest convention this year because they're dealing again with trying to get a home,
Yeah.
trying to get the insurance value out of their home. We know what the insurance situation's like in this country. They may be off dealing with things that it's unfortunate you don't get to meet that person, get a photo, get an autograph, get your Funko Pop signed, whatever. That's small compared to some of the
what
stuff
they've
some of these
lost.
folks are dealing with. Yeah, so.
Well, in other a little bit more uplifting news, Spider-Man star Tom Holland and Zendaya are engaged. Now, did I miss a memo? I thought they were no longer together.
No, no, they've been together.
Okay.
Recently, there has been some kerfuffle by the people whose job it is to stir up kerfuffle.
I see.
They have been like, why aren't you?
I've been kerfuffle.
You have been. Why aren't you walking the red carpet at these events that she's got a movie out, she's got a series out. Why aren't you there supporting your girlfriend slash fiance, whatever?
I see.
And his response has been because that's her moment, and if I show up, it becomes about us, not about her and what she's done to put herself on that red carpet. So yeah, I stay away, and I'm good with that. That's her. She's out there getting her recognition for the work that she's doing.
Honestly
I should not be out there taking any spotlight away from her.
It's honestly a really healthy dynamic that they both respect each other's careers enough to know that, okay, I am going to take away from you if I attend this event or vice versa.
Yeah.
So, well,
you get all the spotlight.
Now that I have been unkerfuffled,
yes,
we have an exciting thing to determine, ladies and gentlemen.
This may be an ongoing discussion.
It could be. Since they are engaged, soon to be married, what will their couple name be?
Right. You mean like a Benifer for Ben
like
Affleck
a
and
Benifer,
Jennifer?
a Tom Daya. I'm actually kind of, you could go the route of like Zendaya Holland. Obviously, they might actually just keep their names, their last names.
Does Tom drop his last name?
I was
Does he
about to
become
say,
just Tom?
or the most exciting, which I think should happen, is he just drops Holland altogether
and just becomes
says Tom, like Cher, like
right?
Just Tom.
What happens? I don't think he can, because I think the rest of the Toms in Hollywood, like the Tom Hanks as Tom Cruise, have enough pull that like they could just be like, listen, kid. You don't get to be Tom.
We are calling a meeting for the Council of Toms. You are not permitted for this.
Yes, the Council of Toms has vetoed your request to just be the newest
member
Tom.
of the council. Like, you are not allowed to do this.
Zendaya has a last name.
Yeah,
she just doesn't.
Do we know what it is?
Coleman.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's oddly plain for somebody as
which is why you drop
it.
But yeah, so I mean, it's possible that I'm sure what happens most of the time in these situations that everybody just keeps the names that they have registered with the Actors Guild. So yeah, she'll still just be Zendaya. He'll likely still just be Tom, but man, or Tom Holland. But it is fun to just what could be.
yeah. Well, if you have an idea for their couple's name, give us a shout out on social media. Also, if you'd like to have us discuss any stories on a future episode of Pop Goes the Culture podcast, again, we would love to hear them. Just go ahead and hit us up at
as in popcorn
GTC Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Mastodon, I guess, and X.
Yes.
And if you have a suggestion, we'll possibly shout it out. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're taking a look at what's coming up in 2025 in entertainment and pop culture. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back after this. Thank you to Wrigley's for sponsoring this week's episode. For this week, guys, we're going to be taking a look at what's coming up in entertainment and pop culture in 2025. Now, what we're going to be most excited for, what we have a little
Some questions
some
about, maybe?
questions
Yeah.
and hesitations on. Let's find out what we're doing.
Yep. So I put together a short list. This obviously isn't everything. You can't get
Sure.
everything that's going to happen. Some stuff we just don't know. Just don't have a date yet.
Mhm.
We know another season of X is coming. We don't know when. So this is stuff that is either confirmed, has a release date, which could change, of course. We've seen
Sure.
that happen. That we know these things are going to be coming up in 2025. It's a short list that we put together, though. Some of the things that probably are the most relevant to us and our listeners. Is there anything particular that jumps out at you if you're going scanning the list here?
Honestly, quite a bit. And like some of these, I didn't even realize were coming out this year.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, Invincible season 3, very excited. Loved the first 2 seasons.
I actually have not started
you
Invincible.
would-
I'm having a hard time caring about Invincible. I don't know
Really?
why. Yeah,
I feel like if you like Creature Commandos, you'd like Invincible.
probably so. I just for some reason
Like not
cannot.
not necessarily the same tone.
Right. Yeah.
Invincible has a little bit more of a darker,
Yeah.
serious tone, but like not incredibly so.
Yeah. It feels to me without watching it, it feels like it fits somewhere between The Boys and Creature Commandos.
I'd say you're right. Yeah.
And
Probably
for
a
whatever,
merger of the
yeah,
two.
for whatever reason, I just cannot get going on it.
Obviously, if you know me, of course you know that I'm super stoked for Superman.
Uh-huh.
But honestly, like I'm looking down the list. I mean, Castlevania, Nocturne season 2, that's super exciting. The Last of Us season 2, of course. However, I'm looking down and I noticed that the Devil May Cry anime, I guess, comes out this year.
For Netflix. Yeah.
Very excited, and don't get me wrong. While I am very excited that Johnny, friend of the show, we've worked with him multiple times at other shows.
Yeah.
Johnny on Bosch will be voicing Dante. Very interesting why they went with him with Dante and not Ruben.
Yeah, I don't know.
Especially with Johnny normally voicing Nero
Right.
in the series.
Yeah.
They went with Dante. I thought that was interesting, but still very excited for the show.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they would have made that swap, but there it is.
What about you, Mr. Mills?
Looking through, I mean, there's some things here that jump out. So Yellow Jackets over on Paramount Plus, Showtime, whatever. Love the hell out of that show. Season 3 of that's this coming up in like I think it's February. I think it's like Valentine's Day. Season 3 of that drops. The first episode of season 3. It's episodic. It's on cable television. Looking for the end of Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai season 6 part 3. There's gonna be a last 5 or 6 episodes to wrap up that series. It's been fun along. A little uneven at times. Sometimes not been fantastic, but as a series overall, it's good. I like it. This is weird to say. I'm kind of looking forward to Mortal Kombat 2.
Really?
The Mortal Kombat film that came out during COVID. It was hey, we're gonna release it on Max because
Decent film.
nobody's going to the theaters. It was better than it should have been, better than it had any right to be. So I'm really interested to see what they're going to do in a second one because the first one felt like hyper focused on this new character that's not part of the video game series, and we're telling that character's story with all this crazy stuff that happens around it from the video games. It's interesting to me to see, the idea of what are they possibly going to do with
See if
a
lightning
second
strikes
season.
twice.
Yeah, and I mean Louis Tan, the main character now, I dig his work anyway. He's fun. There's a film. Apparently it's going to be in theaters.
Okay.
There was a film that dropped on Hulu a couple years ago called Prey. It's a Predator movie.
Yeah, it's a prequel, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, of sorts. It's a movie set in a past.
Okay.
But yeah. But they, the same folks that were involved in that, are working on other projects. They're working on a sequel for Prey, but they're also doing other Predator themed projects throughout space and time, like on Earth, but like in the past. And there's one coming up called Predator Badlands. That sounds really interesting to me. So I'm interested to see what they're going to do with that. And then beyond that, I mean, Righteous Gemstones is a blast. There's a 4th season of that coming out sometime this year. Stranger Things, going to wrap that whole shebang up, I guess, at some point this year. That's another one where and again, that's just the reality of the world we live in. It's been a couple of years since season 4 dropped. I'm finding my interest in season 5 waning just because it feels like we kind of already did that and moved on from it.
It was a self-contained story.
We're going elsewhere now. Yeah.
So I will say there's some obvious ones here that I know a lot of people are excited about. X-Men 97 season 2, Elden Ring Night Ring, Fable 4, GTA 6, of course. The
Yeah,
entire
everybody's
feels like the
freaking out.
entire world is waiting for that one. I would like to though shout out a special one, and I want to say I hope that this is the one that I'm thinking. Nobody 2 that was the Bob Odenkirk
Yeah,
sequel. Okay, awesome. If you haven't seen Nobody, ladies and gentlemen, do yourself a favor and do so. It's Bob Odenkirk,
Christopher
uh,
Lloyd's in
Christopher
it.
Lloyd. Yeah. It's a really great cast. If you're a fan of John Wick or
Yeah.
just anything Bob Odenkirk has done, you'll love this film. And with the second one coming out, you couldn't pick a better time to do so.
So on this list, I didn't put it on the list because I think it's going to be like, ooh, I'm excited for that. But
Okay.
one thing, I mean, if we can kind of move into that round of this stuff as we're looking at some of this, be like, huh? Apparently, there's a sequel coming out to the film that came out years ago.
Okay.
Years ago. Do you remember the film The Passion of the Christ?
Yeah. Okay. So I saw
The
that.
Mel
And I was
Gibson
like,
movie where
maybe
they
it's just a
crucified Jesus.
coincidence?
Nah,
Yeah.
there's a sequel coming out called The Passion of the Christ, Resurrection. To me, I don't know why, but that just absolutely cracks me up that like, all right, here's the movie about, Jesus. Uh, Here we are, decade and a half,
Yeah.
almost 2 decades later, we're gonna make a sequel. He's gonna come back. It's like, dude, that works for like Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
It's funny to me that like, is it gonna be like, I kind of wish they would really lean into the camp and be like, yes, Jesus is back from the dead and he's a zombie. And just have like zombie Jesus causing all kinds of carnage and like have, like his disciples like having to like Van Helsing up on stage. Like, we got to take Jesus
Get
down.
the sawed-off shotguns,
So,
the cutlasses.
For whatever reason, that to me is just like, really? That's what we're doing? That could be hilarious.
In a perfect world, if there was some sense in the world, that's what that movie would look
Yeah.
like. But
like
I feel
Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter,
Exactly,
Pride,
exactly.
Prejudice, and Zombies.
Yeah.
This is Passion of the Christ, Resurrection.
I'm just surprised
and it's a
because
zombie movie.
the original, and this is not an affront to anybody with
Yeah,
any
yeah, no, yeah.
sort of belief structure.
This is all about
but-
the movie, not about your
yeah,
personal
but, like,
beliefs.
it's
Yeah.
just so jarring. Like
Yeah.
the level of intensity that it goes. Like I remember, I'll never forget the one and only time I watched it. I was forced to go to this homeschool kid's house to hang out, and his parents just had us watch Passion of the Christ.
As
Just
one
the
does.
level of uncomfortability that I
Yeah.
had for the two plus hours of that movie.
It feels like, so that was Mel Gibson directed that one.
Okay.
It feels like he did Braveheart, and then the scene at the end of Braveheart where they like torture and kill, his character. It's almost like he sat there going, well, how about we do this? And the director's like, no, this is what we're doing. He's like, but how about this? It's like, no, this is how it was done historically. This is what we're gonna do. And it feels like he left Braveheart going, I could do better.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just torture the shit out of Jesus.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do here. And yeah, if this is not
Really make some people squirm in their
exactly,
seats.
if this is not a zombie film, that's a huge wasted opportunity.
Gonna get a no from me. Well, that's the way we see it, ladies and
I'll
gentlemen.
throw one more out there that it's not something I'm going to get to this year.
Okay.
And I've said this in the past. I don't know that you were around when I said this, but I've done the trip to Disney in Orlando. I have friends in Orlando. I have friends that work for Disney in Orlando. I have friends that used to work for Disney Orlando. When you go to Disney, like, I swear to God, whatever, there must be like a separate water supply just for the people that work at Disney that is just laced with like meth or crack or something. Like, doesn't matter what time you get there, everything is like, everybody's upbeat, everybody's chipper. We're so glad you're here with us today. They're gonna break out into song at any moment. It's like, dude, just hand me my fucking funnel cake. I don't care. This is not. And then I've gone to Universal Studios in Orlando, their big theme park, and I've got friends that work there, friends that have worked there. When you go there, the times that I have been there, it's like there's no light behind the eyes of any of the people working there. Like, their soul has been crushed. You're like, can I just get like a packet of ketchup? And they just like no, they don't even make a noise. They just stare at you for a while. And then after that gets really uncomfortable, they stare a little longer. And then they like turn around, reach, grab a ketchup packet, and like slow motion hand it to you. And it's like, I'm sorry. Like,
I mean, hey, ketchup packets aren't
and,
cheap.
and you're like, you're thinking maybe that person's having a bad day. Maybe their dog died, or maybe grandma's in the hospital. Maybe something's going on. But it's everybody you interact with there. So that to me has always felt weird. But they're doing this whole big remodel, the relaunch. Universal Studios. I forget the Epic Universe or something they're calling it, where they've got these separate like, this is Harry Potter land, because right now it's kind of mixed throughout but this is all going to be Harry Potter. This is all going to be Nintendo. This is all going to be How to Train Your Dragon, um, and then they've got the horror separate, the Universal horror stuff, and I love the Universal horror stuff, so I'm kind of interested and excited to see how that's going to play out. I hope that they get whatever is in the Disney water um, pumped over to
Yeah.
Universal, so that the people that working there are
See,
excited.
I still think they're just part of over at Disney. They're just part of all one hive mind.
I maybe so, but whatever it is that they got going on over there, that's nuts.
Next time you're there, like just poke one of the employees and see if another one flinches.
There you go. But yeah, so I'm excited to see them relaunching Universal Studios in Orlando, the whole theme park resort situation. I'm not going this year. Probably won't for a while. May never go. But I'm excited to see some of these products because they had the Mario Land in Japan for a while, the Universal
Yeah.
Studios there. So the fact that they're making it, because I mean, regardless of what you think about Mario or anything,
Sure.
it looks like a ton of fun. It's
Yeah.
brightly colored. There's moving parts. They have like a Mario Kart track, where you can just race car around and
Well, at this point, I mean, Mario's even like transcended
yeah,
gaming and is
yeah.
now just
There's
kind of a
Donkey
figure
Kong
pop
area.
culture.
There's
Like
So I'm glad to see that. I'm glad that hopefully they'll get all that Harry Potter stuff together in one spot. That seems to make more sense than having it spread out because they were charging you for different parks. And so if you wanted to go do this, yes, you can go see, Diagon Alley. But then if you want to go to like Hogwarts, that's a separate fee. You got to go to another park. Nice to have that together. I love the idea that they're doing the horror stuff.
Oh yeah.
Everything I've seen for that looks fantastic. I've seen a few shots of like, they have the big dilapidated looking windmill that's like rotating on fire. It's like that's the effect is, they got the gas jets in it and stuff. So it looks really cool. Hopefully it is as cool as it looks. So yeah, I'm excited that Universal's doing their thing. I feel like that was also kind of the kick in the pants to get Silver Dollar City down here to do the same type of thing. They're spending like 25 million over the next 10 years to build a big resort.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. So and then Disney's like, well, they can't be top, so they're building their own like villain land now and stuff at their parks. So it's like,
Okay.
yeah, when somebody decides to spend a little money on that, then everybody in the industry has got to keep up, right? So I
And
like
we as the
I like
consumers get to benefit from
Hope,
it.
well, hopefully, hopefully we can afford to go at some
No,
point.
that's a
Yes.
good point. Well, that's the way we see it, guys. But let us know what you think again. For this week's pop quiz, we ask, what are you most excited about in entertainment and pop culture? Well, let us know on all of our socials by just searching up at PGTC Podcast. If we read your comments on the show, we'll also give you a shout out on an upcoming episode.
That's right. Make yourself famous.
So coming up this weekend, we've mentioned it at
Yeah,
least two or three
we've
times.
danced around it. So let's dive
So
into what's
just going directly with you guys, NWA Comic Con,
which is where you were headed.
I was going to be, Northwest Arkansas, Rogers.
Arkansas.
This weekend has been canceled.
Yes.
They were very upfront about it on social media as to the reason, primarily the safety of the con-goers, as well as both the safety and ongoing issues that a lot of the celebrity guests who would be flying out of LA are currently facing.
Right. So yeah, just for those maybe who aren't focused on what's going on where we are, yeah, big winter storm coming in. Not a ton of snow for us. Looks like it's weird. The last one went mostly north of us. This one's kind of going to go mostly south of us, but we are going to get some snow. There's going to be some accumulation, which it's not the whatever they're forecasting 2 to 6 inches of snow in Rogers that's necessarily causing the problem. Again, if you're having a Comic Con and you're bringing out celebrity guests from films, television, video games, all this stuff, they primarily are based out of Los Angeles. You're not flying a plane through the smoke out of Los Angeles right now. Because of where Rogers, Arkansas is, a lot of flights are connecting through Dallas, Texas. Dallas, Texas is in the heaviest band of accumulation that's expected with this storm. So again, the FAA has already said, like, dude, expect delays, expect flight cancellations. Last year we went to Rogers, Arkansas. We had a great show, but we had to kind of shut it down a little early on Sunday because a big winter storm was moving in.
Yeah, you guys got trapped in the hotel.
We managed to get all of our guests and all the agents out. However, when you're talking to an agent and guests about coming to the show, they're like, wait a minute, that's the show that got snowed out, and they're calling for snow. So there's a lot of things going on. There are a lot of reasons why people are getting just not being available or making themselves unavailable in some cases to be at that show because I have to deal with a house not being there anymore,
Mhm.
or I would love to be there, but they're telling me those flights aren't going to be leaving through my connection, or yeah, this my agent was there last year, said that they had to cut things, short, so I think we're just going to play it safe and not do that. Yeah, the road crew that we had a similar situation to what's setting up now. It was worse to the south. The majority of our crew at that convention is out of like Mississippi,
Mhm.
Arkansas, like Little Rock, and further south down to like Jackson, Mississippi. So that is where a lot, the kind of the heavier snowfall is, expected to be. So that crew last year got stuck there until like Wednesday
God,
or Thursday
can't
because it was
imagine.
the roads were that
Basically
bad.
a whole other week.
Just about a half a week. So those of us that were traveling north out of there were able to leave on Monday, but they were there for a few more days. And yeah, it was a mess. So
I can
I
imagine.
totally understand why some people might be a little bit gun shy about coming back. I definitely understand the idea of like, hey, I've got to deal with like insurance now or FEMA
Oh yeah.
or whatever to get my house back. And I totally understand that it's out of people's control if airplanes are moving or not. And you know, we to talk about what else is going on. I'm supposed to be in Columbia, South Carolina at a convention this weekend. I when you're training your kids to drive, and at some point you'll probably get there.
Mhm.
You say it over and over. It becomes cliche, but you've all who are drivers have probably heard this at some point from somebody who was teaching you to drive. I It's not that I don't trust you. I
Mhm.
trust that I have taught you how to drive well. I don't trust every other yahoo on the
Oh yeah.
road because a lot of people aren't paying attention. I trust that I can get myself, regardless of the snowfall here that we're expecting, the 2 to 6 inches, I trust that I can get to our airport. I trust that I can be there safely as early as I need to be in order to board my flight that is supposed to leave at noon tomorrow, roughly at noon tomorrow. I don't trust with everything going on that that flight is going to leave at noon, or B, if it's not canceled or not severely delayed, that where I'm connecting out of will have flights available that will get me to the convention before I need to be on stage with a celebrity guest doing it. Like, I don't even care. Like if I got to be on stage at 11 and it's a 20-minute ride from the airport to the convention center, I don't care if I am like walking out of the airport at 10:15. Like I'm prepped and ready. I do
Mhm.
my work ahead of time. I'm ready to go. I can walk up there, get a drink real quick. There's my guest. I'm good to go. I'm not convinced that that's going to happen because and I know we've working with guests and agents, we're trying to reroute some of them so that they don't also have to fly through Dallas. But even if a flight gets changed and we're like, okay, you are not stuck in LA because you evacuated, or you're from New York or Dallas or wherever, some other place. Uh, so you can get to a connecting city, but it doesn't matter if that connecting city was supposed to be Dallas. If that connecting city is now Denver, Chicago, New York, Charlotte, Atlanta, if the airplane that you are supposed to get on in that connecting city is either smoke filled and sitting on a runway or in a hangar in Los Angeles, or snow covered and sitting in a runway or a hangar in Dallas, if the planes aren't moving, it doesn't
You aren't moving
matter.
either.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. A lot of the times, the things that, it's the same, it's the big cities, the big hubs that have travel problems when there's a travel problem. It's always people blame Chicago, people blame New York, people blame those big cities because that's where things are bottlenecked. But the problem typically isn't in Chicago, New York. It's a bottleneck somewhere else down the road. The computer system for the air traffic control tower quit working in Denver. And so now everybody in Chicago is stuck because those planes that are supposed to be in Chicago are still stuck in Denver. The way they work air travel is those planes basically don't stop. They go from one city to the next, and they just keep moving. If there's a stop in movement, then those planes don't go, and that means everything down the line from where that stoppage happened doesn't go either, unless they can reroute some other planes. But I don't trust that I'm going to be able to get there. I'm going to do everything within my
Sure.
power. I will be at the airport unless I check and I see that it has been delayed till if it's supposed to leave at noon and they say, oh, it's been delayed till 2. Okay, that's
Sure.
I get
It's
it.
doable.
I can still get there. But like I said, I'm not convinced that I'm going to leave my local airport, or B, that when I get to my connecting city, which is Atlanta in this case, that those flights will be moving to the city where I need to be for the convention in Columbia. So uh, I'm hoping that's not the case.
Sure.
I've done the work, right? I put the work in just like you with Rogers.
Yeah.
You put the work in, you want it to
You
come
want to have some
something
sort
of
of
it, yeah.
payoff with it, yeah.
And a lot of the work, the research we do on these guests, because we work with a lot of them over and over, that stuff will sit somewhere
Yeah.
until I need it. But you still, you want to do this. It's been months since the last convention. You're ready to go back to work, right? Uh, you do the work, you're ready to
Mhm.
have something else. You're ready to get paid, if
Yeah.
nothing else,
Yeah.
right?
That is a very nice part of the
yeah.
job, ladies and gentlemen.
So, yeah, so there are contingencies, there are plans within plans that have formed throughout the week as this whole winter storm, wildfire situations kind of coalesced and come together and made it clear what to expect. But yeah, I mean, I hope I'm there because we have
Yeah.
a fantastic lineup. Just going through some of the guests that I will have on stage if I can get to Columbia, South Carolina this weekend. We've got Gates McFadden from Star Trek Next Generation, Laz Alonso from The Boys,
Yeah.
Andy Black, who we've worked with for. We've got all four of the original Teenage
Your
Mutant Ninja Turtle voice
boys.
actors. Love those guys. Actor and voice actors. Allison Court, Ross Marquand. I love working with him. Karen Ashley's a sweetheart. Todd Habercorn, Dodd Bennett, Marty Grabstein, the voice of Courage the Cowardly Dog. We've got pro wrestlers. We got Matt Hardy and his wife Rebby, Jake the Snake Roberts and his wife Cheryl will be there,
And of course.
and we've got my buddy, the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, which I was laughing. I was sending messages back and forth to other folks like, hey, so he was out there on the entryway waving the American flag when Hulk Hogan is getting booed out of the building. Wonder if I should bring that up during a Q&A on the stage. I'm not going to, but I'm sure that he and I will have discussions off the stage,
sure,
off
about
microphones,
that experience.
like, man, what was that
I
like?
mean,
Because how uncomfortable.
gosh, I can only imagine.
One of the announcers for the wrestling is Pat McAfee, who has his own show on the radio on ESPN. He's a former punter or kicker for the Indianapolis Colts. He does a lot of media stuff. But on his show the next day, which runs on ESPN, he's like, "Hey, we're going to cut away. We have Hulk Hogan holding a press conference to address getting booed off stage last night." And he just had one of his buddies standing in front of like American flag backdrop in a Hulk Hogan like suit, like a padded suit with a mustache and stuff. And he's like, "Well, I just want everybody to realize they weren't booing me; they were booing Jimmy Hart." Uh, so, I really do want to hang out with Jimmy this weekend and be like, "So what do you think about this?
Oh God,
Have
be a
you?
fly on the wall.
I'm sure you've heard it, but have you heard
Yeah.
these guys saying, "Oh, they're booing you, not Hulk Hogan"?" So yeah, I absolutely want to get there. That's this Saturday and Sunday, the 11th and 12th of January. You can right now still get tickets online at CentralCarolinaComicCon.com. If I'm not there, there will be everything else will still go on as planned. We have, like I said, contingencies. There are backups. There are other people that will be doing my job, but I want to be there, man. I want to get there so bad, but I don't control the wildfires. I don't control the weather. I don't control which planes do and don't land and take off. And yeah, I'm going to go be at my airport. I hope I'm not stuck somewhere down the pipeline waiting to figure out how I'm going to get home. Yeah, because I can't go forward. That the convention's over. How do I get back?
Sure.
So yeah, it's a lot of things, and then of course it's
Unprecedented
a lot of
things.
standing in line at a ticket counter with everybody else who can't go anywhere. Tempers rise, tensions go. I'm not worried about me. I trust myself that I will remain cool, calm, and collected.
Everybody
But
else,
it's everybody
we have
else
to worry about.
in the airport. Yes, so I'm hoping I will be there, regardless of whether I'm there or not. I know it's going to be a good time. So hopefully, folks, if you're in that area, you can come out and hopefully you'll join us, including me, at Central Carolina Comic Con. But if I can't make it, yeah, hats off to everybody who's worked hard to put this thing together. Again, this is the same company that was running two shows in the same weekend, which is kind of unprecedented. So it was a big task to pull this whole thing together and pull it off anyway. A lot of work went into it. So, and the crew that we work does a fantastic job of that.
Yeah.
So I want to be there with them. I want to be there with these guests. I want to be there with the attendees because it's always fun. We always make connections with people everywhere we do these shows. But it's out of my hands.
Of course.
All I can do is get myself to my local airport.
Yeah.
Beyond that, it's not in my hands. So
and as far as canceling
Right.
NWA Comic Con. We would like to stress that we have worked with the good people at XV or
VXV,
VXV
yeah.
events for about, 15 to 20 shows, if not more at this point. And we would like to stress that they take the choice of canceling a show not lightly.
Oh, yeah,
They
yeah.
take great pride in putting on these shows, having those sold out, packed audiences, and making sure that every attendee, every vendor, and every celebrity has as good of an experience as they humanly can possibly.
Yeah, and I wasn't a part of any of the discussions going into this year's stuff. That's just not where I'm at right now. I'm
Sure.
not in that role. But I know last year with the winter storm coming into Rogers, there were, a week and a half, a week of like constant conversations happening every day, talking to the airlines, talking to, the folks, the weather service, talking, finding out like, can we even do this? Last year we did because we knew with the timing, like it's probably going to hit Sunday late afternoon, evening. We can have a great day Saturday, serve as many people as we possibly can. Sunday, if we have to wrap it up a little quickly, we can. We can get everybody, all the attendees, we can get our guests, our agents, we can get everybody out. And then yes, our crew gets stuck, but the reason they got stuck is because they were working to make sure everybody else was taken care of. So yeah, I can't imagine the conversations that took place this year to finally decide, you know what,
Not an
we've
easy
just
choice
got to
to
do
make,
this. Yeah.
but ultimately the right one. So
And again, had it just been a few inches of snow, I think you
you
would still
probably
be
wouldn't
there.
yeah.
But again, when you have guests, agents, other people that are dealing with wildfires, snowstorms that are bigger than what you're having to deal with in Rogers or in Springfield or wherever you happen to be, yeah, there's a lot of variables this year that just made that the right decision for everybody involved. It sucks for the people that were planning to attend. It sucks for the people that were planning to work there. Not just you. We have other folks that we know that were going down that like, oh, that's a bummer. But the show must go on. We will be, regardless of what happens this weekend. Our next shows with VXV. I'll be Little Rock next month. We have a big show here in Springfield next
Huge
month.
show.
That is, yeah. So
So while an
life continues.
while
Yes.
an unprecedented start to 2025, life does continue, and there'll be a lot more to expect and a lot more to see both us and your favorite celebrities at all throughout 2025.
Absolutely. And then we're working other shows as well that aren't connected to VXV. So it's
Lots
going
to
to
be
get
excited about
it's
still.
really. This is why I can't sit down and play a lot of video games or watch a lot of TV. Like I was looking at my month of March. There are 5 weekends in the month
Oh
of
my
March
God.
just because of the way it falls. The first 4, I'm in a different city each of the first 4 weeks, and none of the cities I'm in are home. So I almost feel like I should just like. I wish I could just connect from this city to that city, and I'll just do my laundry at the hotel. But no, it'll be go there, come back, go to the next one, come back, go to the next one, come back, go to the next one, come back, and then catch your breath. Then you do laundry. So
Yeah, you do
I
what
may
you,
be stinking by the time
you
we get
do
to
what
the
you
month of
love. You
March.
never work a day in your life, ladies and gentlemen.
And we'll see what that means for this show. This show in the month of March, we may not be in every week because we just may not be available every week. So we'll see what happens.
Life comes at you fast, guys.
It does.
Ladies and gentlemen, that has been Pop Goes the Culture podcast
Woo!
for Friday, January 10th. Guys, thank you guys so much for joining us. Tune in next week, regardless of whether or not Joey makes it to Central Carolina.
I'll be back for a show next week,
Regardless of whether or not. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, all those fun stuff. Guys, I'm Zach Wilson. This has been
Joey Mills.
It's been our pleasure serving you guys. Have fun, take care, be safe, and remember that life's better when you have friends to share it with.